I want to live here when I grow up. Hardly anyone knows about this place. So sacred.
They say a church was built here in the 12th century. It was destroyed in the 1930s. People constantly chose this place to pray, and by doing so they created an atmosphere of holiness. You can't commit a sin here, even if you want to.
I didn't want to come here. What island? What would I do there? But I came and stayed.
The island changes everyone, little by little. It's in the lake and in the sea of life.
The island is so small, but for me, it's the center. It's the center of the universe. In summer, I go to the island by motorboat. In winter, when Lake Kubinskoye freezes over, I go there by car from the town of Vologda. I also skied there, or went on foot. The island isn't very far from the lakeside, about 12 kilometers. I've become so used to this route. It's the way home. The first time was long ago. So long ago, but it feels like yesterday. It was 1972. I got married to Alexander. He said that we would go to Spaskameny Island for a honeymoon. We went there by boat. The lake was perfectly calm. And then I saw something incredible, something hanging in the air. It was a miracle, a real miracle. The bell tower was almost completely destroyed. The island was overgrown with raspberries and stinging nettle. We didn't have a lot of things with us, just a one-person canvas tent, a blanket, a couple of jackets, 2 mugs, 2 spoons, and a teapot. That's all we had, but it didn't matter to me. It was about something else. It was all about Alexander. All that he said and did, I can't quite remember. I wasn't listening, I just watched him. By that time, we already had 3 children, and Alexander had a good job. He was the head of a factory. I can't explain how it happened, but at some point, Alexander quit his job. He told us that he loved the factory, and he did this without looking for a new job, without thinking about the fact that he had a wife and 3 children. He didn't talk about it, and I didn't dare ask. None of us could have imagined that our lives were changing at that very moment, that they would take a completely new turn, and it wasn't just us. A monastery was founded on the island in the 13th century. After the revolution in the 20th century, the monastery was closed and the cathedral was blown up. The island grew desolate. No one but fishermen and hunters came here to spend the night and have a drink by the fire, leaving trash and campfires all around. It was like that until the 90s, when 2 people decided to restore the monastery. It's interesting to note that this monastery wasn't founded by a monk, but by a Russian prince. And it was brought back to life not by monks or priests, but by regular people. There were 2 Alexanders, Alexander Asafov, an architect, and Alexander Pligin, an engineer. They met in the winter of 1991. Late one evening, I opened the door of our house to find 2 slightly drunk men on the porch. They were radiant with happiness and told me, "Nadezhda, we're going to restore the Spas Monastery." They spent the whole night discussing everything. To be honest, there was nothing there to restore. And already by spring, in May of 1991 to be precise, work began. Oh, Lord, help us! Everything that God gave me, I received through Alexander. At first, he told me to keep a diary of the island. Then, at one point, he brought a camera and said, "Start filming." How long are you going to work on that?
Until I put it where it's meant to be.
It was like a childish curiosity full of adventure and delight. We were the first kids to land on the island. Our job was to guard the building materials.
When I talked to my father, I used to ask him, "Dad, why are you doing all this? Is this going to be our island, our dacha? What is this place?" He would answer, "Son, I'm doing it for everybody."
We're making nails to attach stars to the cupola.
I accompanied my father when people visited the island. I remember tourists asking my father, "Alexander, how long do you think it will take you to restore the monastery?" Once he grabbed my shoulder and said, "I think my children will have to continue this work."
In 1993, our architect Alexander Asafov died. And almost right after that, the government stopped funding the restoration. As a result, Alexander was left with nothing. He was out of work because he had quit his job. Our family was in a helpless situation. It's difficult for me to say what his thoughts were then. I couldn't really say how he felt about having to make this decision, to stay or to leave. On the surface, he was calm and peaceful. After a while, he became self-confident, though he had absolutely nothing, no prospects. But he grew serene and steady and friendly. He became the owner of the island, its guardian.
What are we going to do with the motorboat?
Every year we do the same thing. 500 years and it's like this, and every year we start at the beginning. I never told him to go away or give up this work. Of course I broke down often. We had no money, absolutely nothing. Our oldest son, Alexei, went to college then. He used to hide a piece of bread on top of the cupboard so he could take it with him in the morning. Alexander would come home very quietly, almost secretly, and he would take some things and food from the cupboard. He would put it in his backpack and leave for the island. This always made me cry. I was in despair. I told him, "Please, ask someone else to give you some food. You can't keep taking everything from me. I've got nothing." I cried a lot. He would look at me and say nothing. He never said anything harsh. He never interrupted me when I said that. He just looked at me in the eye, which made my hard feelings fade away. And after that, he would leave for the island.
Spaskameny Island, Spaskameny Island. Near Vologda City on Kubinskaya Lake. Pavel, over.
Do you live on the island or did you visit it? Alexander, over.
No, we're working here. We're restoring a 13th century monument. We have a radio station.
I wish you every success in your work. Goodbye.
Alexander was a great worker and a real man of the house. He told us to always make use of each trip. Once you go to the island, take a piece of board, a branch, a brick, or a stone. It doesn't matter what. Everything will come in handy. The more I worked, the easier it became. It's amazing. When we started this, I was much younger. It was 20 years ago. But it was very hard and difficult. I was really exhausted. Crossing the lake in winter was very tiresome. You had to walk on the snow. Alexander, you're gonna get soaked. Careful, Alexander. What is that? It's freezing in there. Oh, it's over. In his final years, Alexander began to have heart problems. He grew physically weak, and he took me to the island to help him shift machinery or something. But I couldn't help that much. What kind of helper could I be? It happened several days before his death. He was already at the hospital, and he was so weak. He couldn't smile or talk. He told me, "Don't give the island to anyone." After that, he died. Alexander died young. He was only 56. It happened in 2004. He was buried right here, on the island, near the chapel. Everybody came to our house after the funeral, and we could all feel these questions floating in the air. What's going to happen? What are we going to do? Who's going to do it? One of my children, I don't remember who exactly, said, "Mom, you'd better stay here because you know everything. You were always with Dad. We'll all help you." Everybody gave a sigh of relief, and after making that decision, we parted. When I came to think of it, if I knew what would happen afterwards, I don't know if I would have agreed to it all. I've never seen anything like this before. Alexander never told me. It's heading right towards me. Is it going to cover the house? The wind is very strong. That's it. I'm moving. It's too frightening to stand here. It's so quiet here. At your place, Alexander. It suddenly stopped. Now it's moving in another direction. The fortress of ice has grown in just 1 hour, and it's only the beginning. What's gonna happen? What are we in for?
What are the true goals of the surveillance state? Since the start of the NSA scandal, much of the attention has focused on government agencies and the deceptions and outright lies of elected and appointed officials. But what about the communication service providers? Have they, in the name of the people, voluntarily surrendered the right to privacy?
Rollin', 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 rollin'. Rollin', 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 though the streams are swollen, keep them doggies rollin', roll hard. Rain and wind and weather, hell bent for leather, wishes my gal was by my side. All the things I'm missing, good victuals, love and kissing, are waiting at the end of my ride. Move 'em on, hit 'em up, hit 'em up, move 'em on, move 'em on, hit 'em up, ride, cut 'em out, ride 'em in, cut 'em out, ride 'em in, rawhide.
Don't fall! Careful! The ice is so soft! Oh, it's so good that you came here.
How can a woman stay here and do anything? My decision came very naturally. I stayed here to help my mother because I just couldn't leave her. I made up my mind to help her.
I couldn't help thinking, why not my oldest son? Why not Alexei? If we judge by our human standards and customs, it should be Alexei, my oldest son. Ivan knows nothing about machinery. He's the youngest son and he used to be so spoiled. He grew up with the love of his brother and sister. It was only after some time that I realized why it happened like this. It wouldn't have done Alexei any good if he had stayed on the island. There was no reason for him to stay here.
The island and our father were inseparable. That's what people thought. But for me, my father was just a man. I knew the way he lived before he came to the island, and that life seemed more interesting to me. He always took me with him to the factory, to airfields. He was an experienced parachute jumper. Did we ever talk with my father about continuing his work? Yes, we did. He never insisted on making us carry on with his legacy. He never told us that we must do it. He said, "It's my cross, I wanted it, and I will bear it. This is what I do. Do you wish to do the same? It's your choice. I can't make you do this. I can't force you."
This island is the place where my father is buried. That's how I feel at the moment. I often come here and I always go to see his grave. I was 28 when my father died. I already had a family of my own and I had children. My brother Alexei and I, we already had a business, a company in the city of Vologda. We asked our little brother Ivan to take father's place and support our mother.
I think I just didn't understand it at first. They all used to talk of the importance of the family, meaning that everybody should stay on the island. But it ended up being just my mother and me. I took offense at that for a while, but everything goes away. Especially in a sacred place like this. I don't make so much trouble about that anymore. Fate put everybody in the right place, and we move along. Everyone has his own way.
Today I went to the grave with Ivan. It crossed my mind that nobody needs the island. This means we should continue our work. Ivan has been so thoughtful lately, even sad, I would say. What can we do? We have to bear it. A man's soul progresses in sorrow just like steel is tempered in fire.
Something bad happened to Ivan's family, and I made up my mind to support him. I just told Ivan that I would be with him on the island and I would help him. We had another friend with us, but he's dead now, unfortunately. Initially, the three of us started this work. We started with the bell tower. We had to do at least something simply to prevent it from collapsing. We succeeded in doing that, but you don't stop halfway when you've already started something. So we carried on. If we had done the bell tower, why not work on the refectory? That's how everything takes its course. Naturally, things are taking care of themselves. This year we have to put arches under the cupolas with crosses on them. That will be on the second floor. And we also have to do the windows. Next year we'll finish construction. We'll build it up to the roof. Sometimes I look at the work that's been done so far and I can't believe that we did it ourselves.
Something changes in your mind. Some wall before your eyes just falls down and you stand there, you can't help thinking, why am I doing this? What for? Maybe it's all in vain. Perhaps someone else should do it. It becomes even worse when someone says something like this. You know, guys, you'll never finish this reconstruction, ever. Yeah, guys, thanks for the support. It's very pleasing. Thanks for your encouragement. Why? So many people have visited the island so far. Every year, hundreds of people come here. It's been like this for several years. Perhaps we do give people some kind of hope.
This is the fourth time I've come to the island. Both my body and soul get rest here. I get so fed up with life in Moscow. And here, even though it's physical work, it's so very pleasant. It's good they don't sell beer and there are no temptations here. You don't regret it. Back in Moscow, when you come back home exhausted after work, you'll certainly get drunk on a Friday. Today I continue to clear up debris around the church. There's an abundance of nails. Haven't found any coins yet. I'm going to spend about 40 to 50 days here to get my mind back in order. Only then will I be ready to plunge myself into the chaos of Moscow life.
I'm making doors that will be used in the refectory. I've worked at factories, I sold computers. I can't say what I haven't done. I worked as a bartender once, but this experience is so special because in here you don't work for yourself. Every man has something inside of him which makes him feel better when he does something good for other people. Here you experience it all the time.
I came here on the invitation of Sergei, whom I'd known for 8 years. I was really depressed after a tough divorce. Sergei invited me to the island to get some rest and calm down. It's a nice place after all. When I was on the way here, I had only one thought: please, not the kitchen, not the kitchen. I'll sweep the floors, do the cleaning up, anything but cooking. This was the way I felt. And the more I stay here, the better it becomes. People come here and tell me new recipes. I'm nearly a chef now. I feel so good here, I don't want to leave. Perhaps Sergei and I will get married soon.
I don't think just any girl would come here, even more so to work for free.
When shall we go on vacation? Just for one day, just one. Better for two, though.
Maybe in September.
That means in a month.
Time flies when you're busy working.
Today is the first in the past 10 days that we've had sunny weather. The lake was calm, everyone was working doing their own tasks. It's a pity that today I didn't have time to attend the service, because working in the kitchen doesn't allow you to go to church as often as you would like to.
I was worried about cooking, preparing the firewood, bringing water. I had to do everything, including tourist excursions and ringing the bells, everything at the same time. Now all the duties are distributed among the many assistants I have here. There aren't too many people, but they're all so good. Sometimes I have to work too, of course. Any questions, kids?
Where should I put the grass?
In a pile? Come on, we're working here.
We've come here with a religious academy. We live in a camp and we work here. There's so much to be done and we have to help. I was told to clean up the grass. I want to become either a priest or a monk. If you're a priest, you can have a family and you live in your own house and everything. When they make you a monk, you forget your name, they give you a new one, and you get completely separated from ordinary life. You can't have a family. You dedicate your life to God entirely. I'd rather be a priest, because I still want to give life to the next generation.
I'm the only monk here for the time being. I live in a small wooden house on the island. We first came here in 1997, when the restoration process was only just beginning. That time, we came here in the summer. We took the services and had a look around at what was going on. Back then, there were absolutely no thoughts or plans about re-establishing a monk here, or even regular services. That was a long way off. Afterwards, we came here to conduct services just once or twice a month. Doesn't happen that often. This June, I was appointed rector of the Spasskamenny Monastery. This isn't a reward or punishment any way you look at it. It's exactly what a person needs. It happens in the lives of all Christians that God sends them what they need. It's Sunday today. We held the Divine Liturgy. The church is very small. I'd say it's tiny. With God's help, I hope we'll be able to reconstruct the Transfiguration Cathedral. We'll have more room then.
Why not? We'll do it. If you want to do something, you can do it. We're not used to falling back.
It's Holy Land after all. Monks and churches used to be here, and they must be here. You have to deal with it and move on.
Of course, sometimes I run out of energy, and I start thinking, why am I doing this? Why? What's going to happen? Who's going to come here after us? But moments like these pass quickly. You shouldn't think about the future. God plans everything. It will be as it should be. All we can do is work to save our souls. Our stonemasons got up early, and they caught some fish for soup. There's enough for everyone.